Hey everybody, this is Carl here with CW Exteriors out of Grand Prairie. Hope you guys are doing good. I'm going to be listening to the podcast of the Blastaway guys, Chris and Sheldon hopefully, and their special guest, my good friend Mr. Alan Goff. That's going to be part 2. Great people, great minds, always good ideas are going to be floating around, and I'm super glad they're going to share that with us. So yeah, maybe check it out, tune in to the podcast, and we'll hopefully see you soon.
One beat maker, the hit maker, the hit maker, the hit maker, the hit
Hello again, part 2 of the Process podcast with Alan Goff. Did I just butcher your last name?
No, you got it. Goff. 1 O 2 S. As long as you don't put it the other way around, I'm a happy guy.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving forward, part 2, we kind of had to cut part 1 short. And moving forward, I mean, Al...
Do we start with a new subject, or do you know even where we left off?
I know where we left off. Absolutely.
All right.
Yeah. So, part 2, I would say, is where...
What if somebody's just jumping in for the first time on part 2 and doesn't see part 1?
Well, then they have to watch part 1. In fact, no, they have to start with the first episode, right? Watch all of those, and then you have to subscribe and like everything.
Okay, I got it.
Yeah.
Yes, and then refer all your friends as well, and then they have to subscribe and like all their stuff as well.
I'm kind of noticing the fact that you gave me the dorky earphones.
Those are the good ones.
Those are the good ones.
Oh, okay.
They're the more professional
Well, they
ones.
sound good, but,
Yeah.
they maybe look funny.
No, you look fine.
Okay.
I got the headphones that are built for midgets. They're gonna fall out every time. Like
That's because
enough.
they're BlackBerry. That's probably why they're out of business.
So what are we talking about today?
So moving forward, you sit down with a lot of small business owners.
I do.
Right? And you
I
probably
do.
see a lot of similar problems.
I do.
And what are those similar problems? Because most of our demographic, I would say, are
Entrepreneurs,
small
business owners, yeah.
or people thinking about getting in. So,
It's interesting. When I first started out in this line of work, and of course in part 1, I don't know if we ever even got to how I get into coaching, but I realized people just don't understand how to apply what they've learned. And if there's no application, they have good intent, but if there's nothing there that they can't apply, then it's useless. So as a coach, I help them walk them through that. And for a good long time, I was the guy that was thinking, well, I want to coach the C-level executives in the multinational businesses because that's where the money is. And it's true, there's a lot of money to be had there. It's kind of intimidating when you walk in those rooms and they make enough money to buy and sell a guy like me, but I know things they don't, so it's pretty interesting. However, I've realized that it's that small business owner and that entrepreneur that probably needs more help than the executive over there in the big office. Mm-hmm. And so I really try to serve that demographic as much as I can. And you're right, there are some things that are common. One is, I say, as the chief executive officer of your business, even if it's just a small little business, you should only be doing the things, you know this, that only you can do and only you should do. People have this belief system that they need to do everything, especially as a startup. And, well, I need to do all of this and this and this, and then they have to do everything. But what I find is that they're not good at those things. Are you a professional marketer? Well, no, because they didn't start up a marketing company. Well, then what makes you think that you're great at that or that you're going to have effect at that and it's going to reap rewards for you? Let somebody else that actually knows how, not some wannabe person that tells you they know how, but actually somebody that actually knows how to market and market well. Somebody that eats, sleeps, writes, dances, and sings and is passionate about marketing that actually has a track record of marketing. Let them do your marketing. Get that off your plate. If you're that person that is running the organization I really buy into the camp that you need to stay in your area of strength. Stay in your wheelhouse of knowledge and expertise, and do only the things that you can do and you should do. If somebody else should be doing it at least 80 to 85% as well as you can, let them do it. Get it off your plate. Sometimes the best things we can do as leaders, even in a small organization, is create a stop doing list, which allows us then to focus on the thing that, or the few things that only we can do and only we should do. Because if we stay there and we operate in our wheelhouse of strength, that's what's going to help us be our best. And as CEO, our job is to make our company better. How do we do that if we're operating in an area of weakness? Mm-hmm. You've got into this business for some capacity, for some reason. It's not because of the things that you do shitty. It's for the things you do well. Stay focused there. The second thing, I guess, if I could, off the top of my head, is this, Chris, is I find every single day people don't understand the difference between management and leadership. Oh, does that ever piss me off? And there's a huge gap between management and leadership. There's a huge chasm there.
And both are important.
They're both very vital and important. I say it's that same huge chasm that exists between goal setters and goal achievers. Both very important. You can't achieve without setting. But most people think it's kind of the same skill set. Entirely different skill set from goal setting to goal achieving. Most people can't achieve the goals they set because they don't understand goal setting. How many of my seminars have you sat in on goals that I've talked about, the 5 most common goal setting mistakes that actually set you up for failure? There's this huge gap between those two. And it's the same that exists between management and leadership, but people use those words interchangeably as synonyms in the same sentences. And I say this, if you don't know the difference between management and leadership, I can guarantee you one thing, and that is you won't know how or when to execute either. So it's just a matter of time you're going to fail at both. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That is a constant. I see that from the single person startup, the little mom and pop shop, all the way up to the multinational.
Yeah, I've seen that a lot too. I mean, we've seen that a lot. We talk to a lot of business owners when they're looking to sell, we're looking to buy. So naturally, you sit down with a lot of business owners. And I've noticed a very common trend where a lot of business owners, let's say they lasted 10 years, it wasn't really self-induced. It was just kind of luck of the draw almost, right? So
they got successful in spite of themselves.
Yeah, they were profitable. They don't know why. They don't know how.
Which is a bigger problem, I say. If you're successful and you can't tell me why, you got a big problem.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes they can tell you why, but it's kind of disconnected. It's kind of you look at the financials, you're like, well, based on how you spend it here, here, and here, are you sure that's the reason? Mm-hmm. You know, and a lot of people that haven't even lasted the 10 years, they don't know how to kind of steer the ship to become profitable in the first place. So it's kind of interesting. You run into kind of 1 or 2 people, you know, people that have been in business 2, 3, 4 years. Right. You know, they don't have profitability, they don't have cash, they're desperate, and they don't understand how to steer the ship into profitability. And then the second one, which you see a lot, is the guy that thinks he's a stud, you know, 10, 15 years, and it's, you know, 2, 3, 4%, sometimes, you know, 5% plus net dollars percentage, 5% plus profit, and they think they're, you know, a stud in business because they haven't gone bankrupt yet.
You know, I'm going to say something that maybe is going to ruffle a few feathers, and it might even ruffle yours. I don't know, and maybe you're going to just want to shut the camera off. But but the camp I live in and my belief system. Well, let me just say it. I'm gonna maybe rephrase this. Let me say, let's just pretend that, Sheldon, you apply for a job at my company, and after the interview process, we realize that we really like you. Like, man, you've got everything we're looking for. You bring a lot of value to the table. You are the number 1 choice of employee for us.
I'm believing this so far.
Yeah.
Oh, my, don't stroke his ego too much here. We gotta keep
very accurate representation.
Yeah. all the wrinkles in Sheldon's bald head just disappeared because his head swelled. But anyway. And so we love you and you love us, and you say, yes, this is the company I want to come to work for, and you've got the structure and the strategy, and you've got the culture, it's great. And we say, great, so now you're going to come to work for us. Oh, but Sheldon, I'm going to ask you to come to work for us for the first 3 years, maybe even more, for no pay. You're just going to have to come and just put your time in. Are you going to come? You're probably going to tell me to go pound sand.
Yeah.
Most people would.
Most people
people
would.
As an employee, absolutely you
Yeah.
would.
Yeah.
And so I say, why? No one in their right mind would accept a job as an employee if they don't get paid. So I ask you this as an entrepreneur, why would you accept the same shitty deal? Why would you come into entrepreneurship without getting paid? And I really do. I'm thinking different than most, but I hate the fallacy that people have that, well, I'm an entrepreneur, so I'm going to start my own business, and that just means that I automatically have to go without a paycheck for the first 3 years or 4 years or 5 years or whatever that is. And I say, well, if you're not going to do that as an employee, why would you do that as an entrepreneur? Mm-hmm. And if we do entrepreneurship right, do it right, do the right things the right way, you should be able to make money on day one.
And if it's not you getting paid personally, the corporation should have higher corporate earnings.
Absolutely.
Higher equitable positions
Right.
for the entrepreneur and shareholders. So it's more than just, oh, my salary went up 100K. Well, did your equity go up 100K? Because that we sit down once a year. We go, here's your salary. Oh, here, by the way, here's the invisible benefit that you've received as well, increase in equity and stuff like that. Right. So it's more than just, oh, I got a $100,000 salary too, right? So. Right. And that's what I think entrepreneurs need to focus on is the overall benefit. The employee comparable might make a little bit more money for the first several years, but then I find it starts to flip. The entrepreneur starts to make a little bit more, and then that hidden equitable benefit starts to really show. And at the end of the game, a lot of entrepreneurs they have their exit strategy, they trigger, and that's when you notice, oh, okay, well. That's a successful entrepreneur. Right?
But going back to what you said earlier, how many entrepreneurs do you know that have been at it 8, 9, 10 years and are still not making money?
I know a lot. Yeah.
I don't call that entrepreneurship either.
No.
I call that a shitty deal.
Okay.
I would agree with you. That's a lot of time to put in to not have much to show for it.
And I have the perfect story too. One business owner reaches out to us, right? Wants to sell this her business, and she is an accountant. Now her business isn't an accounting firm. Okay, it's a separate business. I'm not going to mention what, out of respect for this individual.
Sure.
This individual is an accountant. I'm over the phone with her. This is our first conversation, and I'm just trying to understand the business, and we start talking about the books. Right, and she starts to sound like the typical accountant, which is very, articulate, smart, right? I have nothing negative to say there. It's a very valuable opinion,
but no personality.
Well,
sorry.
Anyway, no comment. I cannot confirm or deny those allegations. But here's the thing. So I ask her about AP. Right, her bills coming in.
Okay.
She's like, okay, well, I have about 80K in AP in the system, and then a stack on my shelf. I'm like, a stack on your shelf?
So how much is that? How much is that?
And she's like, oh, well, I don't know, maybe 30K, 35K.
But doesn't really know.
You don't know your AP.
Yeah.
You don't know your AP. You're an accountant. You do not know your own AP, right? And so. Again, going back to the definition of entrepreneur, just because you're an accountant doesn't make you a business owner. And there's a very common...
And even if you are a business, it doesn't make you a good one either.
No. That's the thing. She knows where to file numbers in the T2. Right? But when it comes to sound fiscal cash flow management, like managing your AP...
Very few people have it.
Right?
Very few. Like, that was one of the things, like... I started doing stuff, if you watched earlier podcasts or people that know me, I started doing things at home like most people do, running, home business, doing things out of your basement or whatever in your spare time. Right. And I always thought a good bookkeeper or a good accountant will tell you somewhat how to manage your business cash flow wise. Because number one, I don't know how, or I didn't at the time.
Yeah.
And then number two, I'm expecting them to tell me, at the end of the year or whatever, what should I be changing? What should I be tweaking? What's too high? What's too low? And you find out very quickly that you start asking some of these questions, even when I don't know it, I can tell that they don't know.
They
it.
don't know.
And that's a problem, right? That
is a
has
problem.
been my biggest frustration, I'd say, since getting in any business that I've been doing, is having proper bookkeeping and proper accounting, but having the people that on your side that actually understand it and can tell you how to do it. Because like I at one time I was, starting to make a little bit of money on the side, with my business, and I asked my bookkeeper, it's like, hey, I want to, buy a company truck. Can I afford one? And they're like, oh, I have no idea. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, I got to take this into my own hands because obviously they don't know. But then I would say too, my friends that are starting businesses and stuff as well, that's the biggest thing that they ask is, who's a good bookkeeper? Who do you use? Who's your accountants? Because they want the same advice, but I can tell you, you got to do this stuff yourself and learn it because they don't know it either.
But there's a piece that has to come on that same piece, and that is this. I mean, the three of us, we've been together a long time. I'm going to mention a name that's probably going to make you smile to some degree because we've all sat in with this gentleman together, and that's Mr. Robert Kiyosaki. Learned some great stuff from that man. And what does he say? He says, you've got to have those good people around you. And they've got to know. So what does it take to get that person that knows? You got to be able to pay for that person. So what happens with the entrepreneur that starts up? They're trying to find, and I was in the same capacity. I mean, I've bankrupted, and I've started and bankrupt, I don't know how many companies. I've made some rousing successes of a few, but I've made some disgraces of a few. And in those capacities, it's, well, I don't want to have to pay that much money for my accountant. Are you kidding me? I don't want to pay that kind of money for a lawyer. I really don't want to have to pay that kind of money. Are you kidding me? I can't afford that. So what do? We pay less for a, quote, professional service that really isn't a professional service because they can't provide us with the information that we need.
I think a big misnomer.
Misnomer.
Yeah.
Misnomer.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Not like a gnome, though, like those little Christmas guys.
Not a garden gnome.
Not a garden gnome. Not a garden gnome, but a misnomer.
Yes. Thank you, sir. Is people look at dollars, $1,000 or $2,000 or $10,000 when they should be looking at percentages. Right? Percentages. Oh, is that a good real estate investment? Well, you tell me, what's the percentages, right? You want the most efficient asset possible. If you're just looking at dollars, $10,000, well, in context to what? How do you put context around that dollar? So you might spend, say, $1,000 more with that professional service, but if that professional service has twice the ROI, right, or saves you twice the money, or improves profitability by such and such, well, now you have to understand the percentages to make those educated decisions. And I think too many people judge or subjectify the dollar amount. Oh my God.
Well,
$10,000.
there's some similarities there, Chris, with going out, having a nice dinner out, and tipping the waitress.
Oh, $5 tip, is that good? Is that good?
Is a $5 tip good? I don't know. Well,
Depends on the restaurant.
What's the percentage of the bill?
Yeah.
But is it deserved?
Yeah.
What kind of service did you get? And I've had people that were mad at me because I didn't tip a waitress well. And why should I if I got substandard service or shitty service? I'll be the guy that tips better than you do if I have great service and professional service. But I'm not going to just throw that money out for nothing either.
Yeah, and so I think there's a lot of decision making going on where they subjectify the dollar amount. They need to look at efficiencies. And even with your point, I think, because for me, I think every entrepreneur needs to be able to lead their CFO, right? And if you're the CFO, then all of a sudden you need to be able to lead your accountant and your bookkeeper. And if you don't know how to do that, that's a huge issue. You need to either educate yourself immediately, or there's a huge risk to that entity, or delegate.
Yeah.
Well,
right?
like I said earlier, if you don't understand the difference between management and leadership, it's just a matter of time. You're going to fail at both. You manage policy, you manage procedure, you manage processes, you manage paper, but you lead people. Two entirely different skill sets.
Yeah.
And if you don't know how to do that, you're up shit creek without a paddle.
Yeah.
And so here's the caveat. If you need help with that, I'm a leadership expert. You call me.
Which we will have Alan Goff's information on the Facebook post. But again, getting back to it, I feel a lot of entrepreneurs have to kind of watch their own ego, so to speak. I have to watch mine all the time because, I get very enthusiastic, right? I get very enthusiastic and energized. And so over the last couple of years, I've learned to kind of, pick my spots, but also this is going to sound crazy, okay? I've found value in pessimism. I know pessimism gets a negative stigma attached, right? I'm not saying, be an asshole or anything, but like there's a time when it's like, is that asset really an opportunity for me?
Right.
Right? And then my pessimist lens kind of comes into play.
Well, you have to play both sides.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you said something very important, and so have you. And I don't know if you understood the power of what you've just said, and I'm going to see if this scatterbrain can hold both of those together. But you said, well, is this a good opportunity for me?
Yeah.
So you've got to know where you're going, what you want to accomplish, how you want to accomplish that, and when you want to get out of that. It may be a brilliant idea for somebody else, but not for you. See, if it doesn't move you forward in the direction of your achievements and your goals, it's a bad idea. It might be a brilliant idea, but just not for you. What was it that you said that was so good?
You have to play both sides. I think you have to go into every situation with looking through, one eye optimistic and one eye pessimistic, because you have to always protect your downside. So, you know what I mean? So if you're looking at, whatever it is, buying a business, buying an asset for a business, if things go wrong, what's your pessimist voice say, and how are you going to protect that? And
exactly
hedge
right.
that? Yeah.
See, I'm creating a new organization as we speak, and I realize, I need to put. You said you got to learn how to lead your CFO. Well, I need some people around me that I'll lead in some capacities, but they'll lead me in some capacities, because I know where I'm strong and I know where I'm weak. So I'm putting a board together that will help govern me. And so I've put on a piece of paper, who am I looking for? And one of those people I'm looking for is a critical thinker. And so that maybe we could call it that pessimist, not because I need a person that's going to say no to everything I do. But I can't have a whole bunch of people that are always going to say yes to everything I do, because if all of that has a bunch of yes men,
get in trouble.
I'm in trouble.
Yeah.
So I need that, I'll say pessimist, I need that person that can look at it from the other side as a critical thinker and say, here's what I have to offer from the critical side. There's 11 different types of thinking that are crucial for success, and we need those people. Yeah. And if we're not able to do that ourselves, we have to bring good people around us to do that. I started putting a board of 5 people together, and I realized I don't have everybody at the table that I need, even though I've purposed each of those 5. I need this kind of thinker and that kind of thinker and this kind of thinker. So all of a sudden I went from a 5-person board to a 7, and then I went from a 7 to a 9. Now I'm going from 9 to an 11. Because I just need those people. So great points.
Yeah, it's funny too, over the years, how many ideas have I come up and I'm like, Sheldon, okay, I got this.
And then what would I say?
You just hammer the shit out of the idea.
Complete dog shit.
And then I'm like, and then I leave going, God damn, that's not so great. and so, but I just keep rapid fire shooting him ideas, and then eventually run into an idea where.
I was just going to say, the value of the ideas that you come up with, well, that everybody comes up with at some point in time, lots of them are dog shit, but you have one good one. I'm not saying yours are all dog shit. You have one good one, and it'll lead you down a path that is just, wow.
What do most entrepreneurs, or maybe I'll dare say even wannabe entrepreneurs, people that call themselves entrepreneurs that really aren't, they come up with an idea. Oftentimes, it's that idea that they've gotten because they ate too much cold pizza late at night. We all get that shitty idea. But in the moment, to them, I'm sorry, but it thinks like they think it's a great idea. So who do they go to pitch the idea? The brother-in-law who's more broke than they are, if that's even good English, or whatever. They go to their support group, who are just a bunch of yes people that don't actually know. And those people do the worst possible thing is, oh, that's a great idea, you should do it. Go girl, chase your passion. If you can dream it, you can achieve it. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me?
That's what I'd say to Chris all the time. Go girl, let's go.
You just ask the garden gnome, okay?
Yeah.
Right? Garden gnome supports you 100%. You go, and you go out. And I feel like it's a fad.
Terrible.
It's a fad, and not every idea is a great one.
Yeah.
You need bad ideas to have good ideas.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that phrase that says, maybe I'm going to butcher, but follow your bliss, right? Do what you love, and the money will follow. That doesn't happen, man.
We do a lot of stuff that we don't enjoy. That's the thing.
There's-
But we do stuff that we do enjoy. But a part of entrepreneurship sometimes is like, hey, you know what? We're going to do this
mostly-
activity.
Yeah.
I'm going to cringe,
Yeah, it's-
but our business will improve.
It's
our asset
mostly
will
stuff
improve.
you don't enjoy at
There's
this point in
long-term
time.
Well, there's
when you're
always
grinding it out.
unsexy
Yeah.
in everything you're going
Yeah.
to do, but people have some kind of this bizarre brain thought that says, if I just go do what I love, the money will come. Guess what? I bought into that for years, and I was the guy, and I know a lot of people that are out there doing what they love, and they can't make a dollar at it, and they're broke, and they're going to die broke, and they have a pathetic trajectory for themselves and their children and their family doing what they love. Mm-hmm. Just because you love it doesn't automatically mean you're going to make money at it. Is there a want in the marketplace for it? Yes or no? If so, if there is, how much? Is there a need in the marketplace for it? Yes or no? And if so, how much? And there's 10 crucial tests that you've got to be able to answer yes to for yourself, if that's a good idea for yourself. Mm-hmm. And if the answer is no, there's no future for you to chase the thing that you love. So yes, you can do the thing that you love and make money at it, but you have to know how and where to make money at it, or you're just going in blind.
Cold pizza does sound pretty good.
It does. You've got a good pizza when it tastes better cold the morning after
right.
than it does out of the cardboard box.
Well, going to what you were saying though too, I think a valid point would be like, do what you love, but it depends what you want out of it. Do you want money, or do you want to provide value to other people, or just value to yourself by whatever it is that you love doing is worthwhile or not. So you got to you want to fill yourself up, or do you want to fill your bank account up, or do you want to fill other people up? I think that's something to consider too, right? But if you're after the money, yeah, you're right. Not everything you do is going to bring in the money because you love it.
So, and right off the get-go, I would challenge you as an entrepreneur, then those that are watching that might want to be entrepreneurial, is, well, do you want to do this for profit, or do you want to do this not for profit?
It's a crazy realm. I mean, there's so many variables.
Literally,
It's so
literally
individualistic,
anything.
right?
The book's wide open.
The answer is yes or no to everything.
Yeah.
Like to literally everything. Well, should I do what I love? Well, yes and no. Right? Well, should I delegate this position? Well, yes and no. Mm-hmm. Right? It's such a crazy puzzle, and
you're in control of it all, and you don't have all the answers all the time, and that's what's difficult and exciting about it at the same time. Is, well, if I do this, what's going to happen? If I don't do this, what's going to happen? And you never know the outcomes. You just gotta see what happens, and then use that as experience for the next time, right? So sometimes you win, sometimes you lose.
And you're right. Sometimes you lose. And you have to lose.
Yeah.
There's a phrase, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. It's like, well, no, sometimes you win, sometimes you learn.
Learn, yeah.
If you're going to bake a cake of success, the first thing you need to do is go to the refrigerator and get a big bottle of failure and dump it in, because that's your first ingredient. Mm-hmm. So it's not a matter of, a lot of people say, well, I don't want to fail. Well, you have to fail, and you better get used to do it. As long as you learn from that and move forward, because if you don't learn from your failure, then your failure is just a failure and sucks to be you.
I think one of the first courses I was at from yours that always stuck with me, that I had never heard before and blew my mind at the time, was, I think we were talking about success and failure or something like that, and you said, everybody's trying to get to success, and you're trying to get to the top of the mountain. Well, there's always peaks and valleys, but you can't get to the top of the mountain without having valleys along the way. So essentially saying you can't get to success without having failure along the way. And that was actually revolutionary to me at the time. I was like,
man,
wow, you actually remembered something I said.
I actually remembered quite a few things you said back in the time.
I don't remember that conversation.
Yeah. I forget.
That's an
everything you
ongoing
say.
joke for years.
Yeah. No, but at the time, when you're just trying to struggle to be successful and make something of yourself, and you beat yourself up every time you have a little bump in the road or a big bump in the road. Now when that happens, because it still does, it's like, well, okay, yeah, learn from this where we're at now, and things can only get better and as you
Right.
move up, right? So I use that a lot because we have ups and downs all the time.
So it's inevitable you're going to have them, but what
Yeah.
you don't want to do is make those decisions, those vital decisions in the valley, because you'll make a bad decision because you're in a low emotional state.
That's what I was going to say. Unless you can have people around you that can help take the emotion out of the decision-making process, which, I'm lucky we have a good group. That we can
I
do
think
that.
there's so much value in the valleys. I feel
do
like
too.
I've made
Actually, Yeah.
most of our money that we've made has been in the valleys. If you think about it, I look at my real estate investing career. When I was no longer able to get personal financing to do a real estate deal, I was like, okay, well, how do I do this now? And then I started getting partners. And then I was doing literally 10 times the deals.
Right.
Right. And so same thing with when you look at companies, they're going through valleys, and some of them don't want to continue that journey. So a valley can be opportunistic, right? And sometimes you're doing that individual a favor as well, right? You don't want to be anybody's golden parachute, but someone's looking to sell. You provide that value as an exit for that individual. And so I feel that most of the learning that I've done and most of the upside that I have today and us is because of the kind of the shit in the road, I mean, I find so much
Oh, we've
value.
learned a lot, yeah.
Even when all our systems collapsed, right? Okay. I knew in the back of my mind, I said, okay, well, this is obviously going to solve itself. And when it's solved, it's going to swing the other way, right? And I knew that, there was a lot of upside equity to grab at that point. So I was excited. Stress and pressure too, but still, I look at valleys in a much different light now, for sure.
Can I steer the conversation?
You know what? Can we
Yeah, please.
wrap this one up and just
Sure.
do one more? I hate to do that, but I see the iPad's running out of juice here, and we better get that fixed before we
Well, I know
die.
when I run out of juice, I'm done, so.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Well, we'll wrap this one up, and we'll do maybe a part 3 then, a quick one.
Sheldon, Chris, Alan.
Yeah. Thanks.
Thanks, guys.